Welcome back into the studio for the mixed media deck build. To learn more about the deck build, please click on the description box below. So our prompts this week are stars, lace, and craft paint. And to get started, I'm going to put a couple layers of gesso onto this card. It's very slick and the blue is pretty dark, so it is going to take 2 layers to do that. So that's where I'm going to start. All right, now that gesso's dry, I'm going to come in with this piece of lace and some texture paste and opaque matte, as well as a palette knife, and push that texture paste through the lace onto the face of the card, and then pull that up, and voila, we have texture. Isn't that texture awesome? Just using that lace as though it's a stencil. Yeah, really yummy, but it needs to have some color so it pops off. So I'm going to get this dry. I don't usually dry with my hand dryer. I usually let this dry naturally, but yeah, for sake of time, I'm pulling it out. All right, now that that's dry, I am pulling out some Anitas craft paint, which is also one of our prompts, in the Artichoke Heart Green. This is a wonderful, light, kind of nature's green. I'm going to kind of water that down a bit so I can get some movement and have it pool in some of those areas that have the texture on the card. And I'm going to actually apply it with a small flat brush. And you'll see here, I'm going to come in with my mister and add additional water to get it really moving. I love how that addition of the color, how it pools in certain areas. I love how that makes that texture pop. But we're gonna do some additional things here to accentuate that texture even more. But before we get to that, I'm gonna coming in here with a very tiny star rubber stamp and this acrylic ink in Hickory Smoke. It's hard to see on the surface until you see the finished still image, but it's really subtle but fun. Once I'm done adding those stars to the surface, you'll see here I'm going to come in with that same archival ink and add it to the edges of the card. I'm going to be pretty aggressive and catch some of the texture that's close to the edges with that Hickory Smoke. And just like that, all of our prompts have been met. Next up, I'm going to use some of that original lace that still has some of that texture paste on it. I'm going to cut it up and use some of that as part of the focal point. So you're going to see here in a few seconds that I'm going to add some of the Ranger Distress Oxide archival ink, or no, not the Distress Oxide ink onto the surface of the lace that I've cut out, but it's just not got enough of an impact, so I'm going to come back in with some Posca paint marker in black, kind of spritz that with water so it spreads out and soaks into that lace. Now that I've got that piece of fabric finished for the focal point, I've decided to come in with a little bit of gesso using a dry brush method to add some highlights of white, both on that focal point, that fabric, that lace, as well as the card front. And once I'm done with that, I'm going to go ahead and select some words for the front of the card. Thank you so much for watching the real-time mixed media deck build series. I really appreciate it. If you're enjoying this real-time video, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. That always helps me out a great deal. Thank you.